Today we're trying something a little different and looking at the fleet of two airlines in a single video. In this case, the North African carriers of EgyptAir and Royal Air Maroc. Both carriers are on the smaller side when compared to many of the other airlines we look at, although they both operate some transcontinental services in addition to a strong regional presence. So let's look at the fleets of these two North African airlines in 2025. Starting off with fleet data from planespotters.net as of early November, EgyptAir has the following aircraft types and quantities: 8 A320neos, 7 A321neos, 5 A330-200s, 4 A330-300s, 30 737-800s, 5 777-300ERs, and 8 787-9s. Outside of its mainline fleet is EgyptAir Cargo, which operates 3 A330-200Fs and 1 737-800F. Over at Royal Air Maroc, we begin with the carrier's 6 ATR 72-600s. While these are listed under the mainline fleet, it appears that they are flying under the Royal Air Maroc Express brand. Moving up to the jets, there are 28 737-800s, 10 737 MAX 8s, 5 787-8s, 6 787-9s, and finally 4 E190s. You might expect the Embraer regional aircraft to also be flying under the Royal Air Maroc Express brand, but this does not seem to be the case. We also need to mention that the carrier's single 767-300 freighter is listed as being part of the mainline fleet and not operating for a separate cargo division. This makes sense given that it's just a single aircraft. Now, in terms of undelivered aircraft, there's not too much to report. Royal Air Maroc, at the time of making this video, has just one 737 MAX 8 yet to be delivered if we're looking at CH Aviation data. However, other sources list more MAX 8s due at the airline. Indeed, Aerotime Hub reported that Royal Air Maroc signed an agreement with Dublin-based Aviation to lease 6 of these aircraft, mentioning that 2 had already joined the fleet. Thus, going by this news, there are 4 more due at the carrier. Aerotime states that these will arrive through the remainder of 2025 and 2026. Planespotters.net specifies that there are 2 MAX 8s due at the carrier soon. One has MSN 43329 and the other 43313. One interesting fact about these incoming MAX 8s is that they are coming from fellow One World Alliance member Qatar Airways, who got into 737 MAX operations after a dispute with Airbus over A350 surface degradation. The 737s were actually first ordered by Russian carrier S7 and made undeliverable due to war and resulting sanctions. They were then picked up by Qatar Airways, leased out to Indigo for a period of time, and then given up shortly after. Hopefully, these jets are more welcomed at Royal Air Maroc and will be there longer, though we'll have to wait and see. The other piece of future fleet news for Royal Air Maroc is that it's reportedly in talks with multiple aircraft manufacturers to purchase as many as 200 aircraft, according to sources cited by Reuters. According to a Brazilian newspaper, the carrier is considering Embraer's second-generation E2 jet family alongside options from Airbus and Boeing. The specific composition of the rumoured 200 aircraft order has yet to be revealed. Now, this news came out in July, and it's now November, and no further news has come out, and so there's a chance we could hear something any day now. On the EgyptAir side, planespotters.net reports that the carrier is expecting 16 A350-900s and 18 737 MAX 8s. Back in November 2023, EgyptAir announced an order for 10 A350-900s to meet growing demand for air travel. This was followed up by a June 2025 order for an additional 6 as part of its expansion strategy to again meet growing demand. Speaking on the commitment to taking 16 A350-900s, EgyptAir chairman and CEO Captain Ahmed Adel was quoted as saying, "We are continuously working to modernize our fleet and deliver a more comfortable and optimized travel experience. This collaboration with Airbus builds on a long-standing relationship that spans decades, marked by multiple successful deals and strategic partnerships in the aviation sector. And then when it comes to the 737 MAX aircraft, CH Aviation reported that the airline signed a lease agreement with Air Lease Corporation in 2023 for the 18 narrowbodies. Deliveries were originally slated to begin in 2025, although we can see that nothing has been delivered just yet. CH Aviation noted that the new jets will partly replace 12 A220-100s, which the carrier sold to Azora in 2024. The media outlet is a little bit off in its reporting here, since they actually operated the Dash 300. Nonetheless, it's a decent transition to allow us to cover the news of EgyptAir ditching the Airbus A220. EgyptAir's A220-300s arrived brand new at the airline between 2019 and 2020. However, after several years of premature engine wear and supply chain issues slowing down the delivery of replacement engine components, the North African carrier gave up hopes of profitably operating the newer generation narrowbodies. The airline's decision to end A220 operations and give up its fleet of 12 has been by far one of the biggest pieces of negative news regarding the jet's Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engines. Iraqi Airways' A220-300 fleet has been on the ground for a prolonged period of time, while Swiss more recently announced that it would be grounding its A220-100s for a year and a half so that any serviceable engines could be used for the carrier's higher capacity A220-300s. And so it was in early 2024 that aviation firm Azora announced the purchase of the 12 A220-300s from EgyptAir. A few months after the announcement, Azora said that it was working with Delta Material Services, or DMS, a wholly owned subsidiary of Delta Airlines, to part out a used Airbus A220-300 aircraft to help alleviate the parts shortages contributing to global aircraft on ground, or AOG, challenges. The media release added that the one former EgyptAir aircraft would undergo teardown and be used to support the repair needs of Delta Airlines fleet and other airlines worldwide by providing A220-300 parts. The other ex-EgyptAir A220s acquired by Azora have been picked up by Cyprus Airways and Breeze Airways of the United States. And so there you have it, the fleets of the two largest airlines in North Africa. So what do you think of these two carriers? Let us know by leaving a comment. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles and a podcast every week. Visit simpleflying.com.